Welcome back, guys. It's Fantasy Football Anonymous here with our favorite Week 10 fantasy plays. And since you're always saying we steal your guys, Schroeder, who do you love?
Thank you,
This
Joe.
week.
Thank you. I wanted to start so bad. All right, we're going to go ahead and start it out at quarterback. My first love, Matthew Stafford against the Browns. Yep, and I knew you guys were going to take him, so it looks like you guys are copying me. Look, Matthew Stafford has a great matchup. He played really well against Green Bay. He was getting like 15-yard, 20-yard, 25-yard passes all day. He had, I think, over 325 yards. He might even hit 350 with a couple touchdowns. Against the Browns, he can do the same thing. I love him this week. My running back love of the week, Jordan Howard. Bears, I think, against Green Bay this week at home, he is going to get plenty of rushes. He is going to completely dominate this Green Bay team. So if there's a week to play him in DFS, or you're obviously going to be playing him in standard or in season long, but this is the week. Wide receiver, Sammy Watkins. He's finally coming alive. It takes a while once you get traded to get the playbook and actually become week to week. I think Sammy Watkins is going to become more of a threat as the year goes on. And he showed it last week in a big reception. I think he continues to get more involved and facing a pretty good matchup this week as well. And lastly, Evan Ingram. This guy has just kept on getting 70 yards and a touchdown every game. I don't see why he can't continue it against the 49ers this week. As the number one receiving option for the Giants. He is my love tight end of the week.
So, Schroeder, I love that we do this in this format in which we don't compare. We try to see. You got 3 of my 4 this week. No, I love Stafford, Cleveland Browns. What more is there to say? Jordan Howard, we talked about it earlier in the earlier show. They're just going to be right. He's going to get 30 touches. He's going to have a great week. Evan Ingram, every week he's like my favorite tight end. Great matchup, and he's producing every game. He's a top tier tight end, I believe. And I'm disagreeing with Sammy Watkins there. If there's one thing I've noticed with Sammy Watkins, it's inconsistency. Now, he does have a good matchup, and he probably will be involved and have a decent week. But I wouldn't get too excited to think that he's heading into the elite top 10 territory yet, but there's definitely, some stuff there. But I really like this week. I like Julio Jones going up against Dallas. I think Dallas's offense has looked incredible, and I think that they're going to – I think my expectation is Zeke will play just because I won't believe it till he's actually sitting. And I think that they're going to be down, and Julio Jones is going to see some targets early in the game, and he's going to see them late as well. So I like you guys said, he's not going to drop that catch every time. I think he's in for a good week. Joe, did we steal all 4 of your guys?
No, you only stole 2 of mine. I had Jordan Howard and pivoted at the last second, but Stafford was the obvious choice this week. There's not a ton of great matchups out there for the guys who aren't in the top tier of quarterbacks. And the Cleveland Browns, they're a pass funnel and they're awful. So what's not to love about Matt Stafford? I went with Devontae Freeman as the guy I love this week. I think the best version of the Falcons offense is one where he's heavily involved. And I think eventually they're going to realize that. I hope it's this week, and rather than let that explosive Dallas offense dominate today, I think they're going to try to run the ball here more, and Freeman's the way to do that. I went with who did I go with as the receiver? I like this week. Went back to the Detroit Lions. Golden Tate. He was the receiver who didn't catch a touchdown for Stafford last week, but still had a great day. Still heavily involved. I think he's able to find the end zone against the Cleveland Browns and have a huge day. And Marvin Jones is still a great play too. And Evan Ingram, he was the obvious one of the obvious best play other than Rob Gronkowski on the week with a lot of the top tight ends absent from this week's slate. And what's up, Rob?
Oh, I was going to say, just to add to your Devontae Freeman thing, I totally agree. And if you even date back to the Super Bowl, in the first half, they were running the ball effectively with Devontae Freeman. The Patriots could not stop that running game. They started to get away from it late in the game. I just don't understand, why they keep choosing to not involve him more. I think he is the key to their success.
Yeah. For the guys I'm kind of down on this week, Marcus Mariota. Talked about how I like the Bengals defense. He just hasn't played that well this year, and I think he's still limited by that hamstring injury. And I'm just not sure that there's a ton of value in that passing game yet. So I'm kind of down on him this week. Adrian Peterson is another guy I'm not as high on. We talked about that tough Seattle defense. The workload could be there, but probably not this week. I think this is more of a game that's going to be dominated by the Seahawks, and I think as Schroeder said, they're going to get up early, and there's not going to be a ton of work for AP. Jordy Nelson. I hate that Green Bay passing game now. It's really fallen off a cliff, and it's funny to think that Jordy Nelson had more value when Scott Tolzien was in Green Bay than he does now with Brett Hundley. That's a huge indictment of Brett Hundley and his ineptitude that we've seen so far. It's just going to be tough sledding for the Green Bay passing game. And I hate Jordan Reed this week. He won't decide if he's healthy or not. He's trending towards deciding to be injured, but we probably won't know until game time. And if he's active, he's likely to. I've already mentioned he's likely to re-injure himself in pregame warmups, and then be a surprise inactive, or either that or get hurt on the first play of the game, and sink your fantasy week.
Yeah, Joe, first of all, Schroeder, that was one hell of a knuckle crack there. I heard that all the way from here. That was pretty epic, so I got to give you your due there. That was pretty good.
I've been cracking mine under the table all night, so I can't get mine to make that great of a noise.
Nice. Yeah, I can't do it, but my jaw popped. Yeah, y'all hear that at some point, I'm sure, if you haven't already. Jordan Reed, I echo what you say there, Joe. You just don't know with them. Tough defense as well. Kirk Cousins, the guy throwing to him. While I do think the Redskins are going to win this game, I think it's going to be very ugly. I don't think this is going to be his bounce back statistically. I think there are further games down the road that Kirk Cousins will do well. I don't think this is the week. I'm staying away from Doug Martin. I talked about it earlier a little bit. I just think they're going to be stacking the box. I don't think the Bucs are going to be able to get much going offensively at all. And there are question marks, about playing time. They could be down early. The whole Charles Sims, some more passing down work. So I'm staying away from Martin. I don't like him at all this week. And I'm going to disagree, Schroeder, with something you said. I'm staying away from Keenan Allen this week, actually. It is very true. He doesn't have to deal with, the corners being in the slot. But I just don't like this matchup. And I think the Jaguars much better to run the ball against them. I see Melvin Gordon being the key guy in this offense for the Chargers. Not to say that Keenan Allen will have an awful week, but I don't think he will get into the end zone. I think he's more of a PPR play. In standard, I would stay away from him.
Did you mention tight end, Rob?
Oh, Jordan Reed.
Okay. Okay. All right, guys who I'm not starting this week. Phillip Rivers against Jacksonville. Yeah, you usually, unless your guys are studs, you bench your quarterbacks against Jacksonville. That defense is just very good. Even though I'm predicting the Chargers to win, I think it's going to be relatively low scoring. Running back, DeMarco Murray. I don't like starting guys that are injured, that are kind of in a timeshare, and that don't run effectively even when they're healthy. So DeMarco Murray is on my hate list. Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver. Just input wide receiver, one going against Denver there. He probably won't suffer as much as other wide receiver ones because he does have Tom Brady. But I wouldn't be expecting as big a game as you would be expecting otherwise. And lastly, Kyle Rudolph, actually, I put on my list here. Mostly because whenever Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs have been healthy at the same time, Kyle Rudolph has not produced that much. And I think it's finally back to the point that Stephon Diggs is fully healthy. So look for Kyle Rudolph to really become the third or fourth since they have started to get Jerick McKinnon a lot more involved target in that offense. And that's just not the guy I want to play. Moving on to my sneaky picks of the week. We're going to go ahead and start with Josh McCown of the New York Jets. And with that smile, Rob, I probably realized that you had him too. I love him this week against Tampa Bay. He's looked great, and I think he's going to continue to look good. Kenyon Drake, this one probably you guys don't have. But I think this is going to be a closer game against Miami, the Panthers against Miami than expected. I think Kenyon Drake looked pretty good. He looked a lot better than Damian Williams actually rushing the ball. I think they're going to try to stick with running the ball since they probably don't want to put it in Jay Cutler's hands, and that will give Kenyon Drake 15 to 20 touches, putting him in the very low-end RB2 to flex consideration. Wide receiver, I like Juju Smith-Schuster to continue his solid year against a very bad Indianapolis Colts team. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and go with Vernon Davis, as you guys both hate Jordan Reed, so another tight end has to step up, and I'm going to say that guy's Vernon Davis.
All right. Well, yeah, you didn't steal any of my guys, Schroeder.
All right. All right.
Congrats on that. I went with Andy Dalton as my sneaky quarterback of the week. I was going to go McCown, but I figured I'd pivot from the more obvious pick and go with a guy in Dalton who's been really up and down so far this season. I think he has an exploitable matchup here against the Titans secondary, and I think AJ Green has a great game here after a surprise non-suspension. I like Orleans Darkwa this week. I liked him last week as a sneaky play, and he was really effective running the ball early against the Rams before the Giants had to abandon the run completely because they were so inept on defense. I think they're able to keep it much more close against San Fran and run the ball with Orleans. I like Ted Ginn this week against those Buffalo Bills. They were roasted by the speed of Robbie Anderson in that secondary. I think that's a thing that can continue this week. We might see Ted Ginn hit pay dirt again this week. And since I didn't trust Eric Ebron, I decided to pick on the New York Giants with the San Francisco 49ers backup tight end, Garrett Selleck, as my super deep sneaky play of the week.
Wow, that is super deep.
Joe, are you in a 20-team league there?
He's my dirt cheap DFS dart throw at the tight end.
Very nice,
Okay.
very nice. Well, both of you guys, Josh McCown, top 10 quarterback right now, playing against a really bad defense. I like that recipe. I had Ted Ginn as well. I think he's going to have one big play, and that's going to put him into fantasy relevance this week. And for tight end, I was kind of like, I was going to put nobody because I just didn't like him. But I'm going to do it again, even though it's failed me. I'm going with Ed Dickson yet again. I just feel like the opportunities are there for him. He almost had a nice play there in the Falcons game. Didn't come down with it. But I just like those opportunities to continue. And he's going for a very low price in daily fantasy. Just too tempting for me to lay off, especially against a Miami team that gave up a lot of points to an Oakland team that had been, struggling offensively. So, and here's the big surprise at running back. I'm going with Jonathan Stewart this week. A little bit of surprise. The Panthers fan. So after an abysmal game in which he fumbled twice, after the second fumble, I yelled at the screen. I said, they need to cut him, just out of reaction. I don't think they need to get that drastic, but I was thinking they're going to start. His timeshare it's going to get dwindled. And for the most part, McCaffrey did get a lot of carries after that. But they still gave him the ball, and I was still kind of shocked that he was still even in the game. So I think that the Panthers will look at this as a bit of a hiccup. I still think he'll be involved. I think they're going to score a lot of points in this game, a decent amount. And in daily fantasy, I'm taking him because he's going for the league minimum for a running back. That is just very cheap and hard to pass up on this week. So I'm going with Jay Stu to get into the end zone this weekend against the Dolphins.
Rob, before we sign off, there's a couple things I've been thinking about. I think the listeners probably want to see a little bit of competition between us. So I want to kind of institute a betting system where it's not money, but it's going to be something embarrassing the other person has to do between all three of us, by the way, just based off who we disagree with. So a few of the ones that you brought up today are the Keenan Allen. So I like Keenan Allen. You said you weren't too high on him. So I think a fair point in standard league is probably 8. Would you agree? You would take the under, I'd take the over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can, if you're agreed, we'll go ahead, put that down as our first bet of this week.
What are we betting to?
Just something embarrassing we'll have to do, like say the other person knows more in fantasy at the end of the year. We'll figure it out. If you listeners have any ideas, please go ahead and let us know what you would like us to see, to kind of embarrass the other person. And I'll do the exact same thing, but I'll put the under on Jonathan Stewart as well. If you want to do, we'll even say 7 fantasy points for Jonathan Stewart. I'll say under there if you want to go over. Got that?
So you want in on any of this?
I'll take Rob's side for both.
Okay. Okay. So you're the over for Jonathan Stewart and the under for Keenan Allen?
We did just see a 30-plus-year-old running back score 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins, so it can't happen.
Okay, I totally forgot to mention that. That was on my notes.
And we just I like your Ed Dixon take. I was going to say we just saw Jared Cook destroy the Miami Dolphins, so I think Dixon will have some opportunities.
All right, guys. So it's going to be me versus Joe and Rob, and so we'll see who wins those bets. And we'll keep score as the year goes on, and the loser will have to do something embarrassing, but the winners can decide, or you listeners can decide, and we'll figure it out from there. Well, guys, again, thanks for listening. You can go ahead, please like this video, subscribe below as well. If you want to email us your questions, your comments, your suggestions, you can email us at ffanonymous3@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at ffanonymous3. For me, Joe, and Rob, thanks for listening, and remember, as always, stay addicted.